Hello. The topic I want to talk about today is something that I read about in Jed McKenna's book, Spiritually Incorrect Enlightenment. And he has an unconventional way, manner, and approach towards spirituality and enlightenment. And it's basically, I mean, there's a lot more to it, and I believe you should read his books. But basically, he's saying that you need to just figure out what's true. Focus only on what's true, and eliminate, destroy, and get rid of everything else, right? And basically, he said that it took him a while to come to this realization, but America is basically the only place you need to be for spiritual enlightenment. Everything you need is within its shores, within its authors, within whatever you can access within that. Now, that goes against the traditional, or so to say, spiritually correct idea that you need to go east, be it to India or Tibet or areas like that. And I just wanted to talk about that topic a little bit. So, basically, with respect to that concept, it certainly is unconventional. And one thing I will notice, being in India as it is now, is that the spirituality is woven in the very fabric of the place, right? The way the people engage with each other, their basic beliefs on reincarnation and nirvana and related topics are very intimately understood just basically, through Hinduism and through spirituality in general. Um, and the way people discipline themselves with yoga, the way they respect the earth, the way they do Indian classical music or Indian dance or whatever, which is all based in devotion to God, is a highly spiritual thing. Now, however, coming from Jed's perspective, it's possible that these are all things that are, basically missing the point. His entire idea is waking up from the dream state. And he would take someone like Timothy Leary from America, who was a pioneer in psychedelics in the 60s, over, Indian sages and stuff. And it's an interesting perspective, and it is certainly one worth exploring. Um, well, I'll say from a personal standpoint, being of an Indian lineage and also being born in the United States and being raised there, that in a certain sense I resonate with what he's saying deeply because I'm from the United States and I understand how the patterns of thinking that I've developed while being there, which are very different from the ones my parents had being in India, have led to a lot of spirituality within me, which is actually not quite so bounded in any religion or theology, just as you know. Whereas in India, a lot of the spirituality is tied or bounded within Hinduism, which can be limiting because it is a thought structure. It's a very, very nice thought structure, but it's still a thought structure. It's a very elevated thought structure, but it's nonetheless a thought structure. And to Jed's point, that may not uh, be something that allows one to fully awaken from the dream state. So I will say one thing about the American school of thought is that, well, there are many aspects of the culture that have a particular school of thought, but in general, there's so much diversity within America of so many types, thought being one of them, that there is no exact American school of thought. You're basically free to think and do whatever you want. And that's one of the things that's made America very powerful, both economically and otherwise. And basically, I can't know what it would have been like to have been born and raised in India. But as it is, as it was, I can understand what Jay is saying. I'm not endorsing his perspective or denying it. But it is nice as an American to know that someone has said that statement, right? Although from an Indian perspective, like, oh man, I thought this is where I have to be, or rather this is where I'm going to learn, and etc. But I will say that the American freedom of thought used correctly is something that can, really help someone transcend a lot of boundaries and to find a spirituality that is truly beyond culture if they're brave enough to really endeavor deeply enough in that direction. the American freedom also allows someone to decline and devolve in amazing ways, amazingly bad ways, right? And, you know, when you have freedom, you can use it for whatever, right? And within India, the societal, social, and familial constructs are a bit more tight. The family construct is very tight knit here, and just being around here, being here, it's very nice. People invite me to their homes, and everyone is happy, and we have a very, very nice uh, dinner or lunch or whatever it may be, and it all works very nicely. The culture here is very cohesive, and there's a general happiness and peacefulness within the air. People aren't fighting amongst each other in the way that they are in America quite so much, and there is a great beauty that comes within uh, the tight knit, you know, nature of those constructs. Uh, with respect to America, it's not quite like that. The family is not quite as strong there as it is in India by any stretch, actually, and even not as much as it was in the past. And there's downsides to that, but on the flip side, every person is able to chart their own destiny, even irrespective of their blood relatives, or irrespective of whoever or whatever they may have been, whatever they may have come from. And in that sense, irrespective of family or anything, perhaps Jed is correct that the American experience may be a better place for someone to awaken from the dream state and awaken into the consciousness that's beyond the matrix, so to say, or beyond form, or beyond whatever. And this is not to negate at all, and I'm very well familiar with Indian spirituality, um, the depth and the profundity of the very well fleshed out things that have been learned and discovered over eons, um, that have built themselves within the psyche of the Indian person over eons. It's extremely valuable stuff. I really know that. I study Indian classical music. I know how valuable that, among other things, are. How valuable strong familial relationships are. How valuable many, many, many things are. Everything that's done here in a lot of circumstances is done as a devotion or worship to God. And it gives a different flavor and feeling. Although one may call that specific aspect religious rather than spiritual. But I bring this up to say that this is a multi-perspectival look at this topic. I'm not taking one side or the other. But it was an interesting one that hit me, you know, in a certain type of way when I read that aspect in Jed's book, that you need not leave the American shores. Everything you need is here. It's a different perspective, and if it was true, it's hard to know whatever is true ever, really. But if it was true, that's a very nice thing. It's a very nice thing, and it speaks also. I mean, you can do this anywhere, right? But he's saying there's something special about America that makes it be that way. And if he's right, I hope he is right. At least from an American perspective, that Americans can really awaken and spiritually elevate and enlighten themselves. I think that'd be a really fantastic thing for the entire world, especially given how powerful America is with respect to its global position. Stronger and more enlightened America is always going to be a good thing, in and of itself, and for all the byproducts that will come with it. So these are just some broad-based thoughts on this topic. If you have any thoughts to share, please do so in comments. Hope you enjoyed this.